Alrighty, let's try this again with sound quality. So, I don't know. I was looking at presidential candidates because I was just interested in who the hell was going to be fucking running. And I'd like to stay more on top of this shit, but I mean, I just haven't had a ton of time to look into it. Just with work, it's long hours, very long. And I don't know. I would just like to do more research on stuff like this, and that would just make me happy. Anyway, so with that said, there are a lot of different candidates here. I mean, I don't know who a decent chunk of these people are, but I mean, I don't know. There's at least like some of these people are like okay. I think like you're fairly okay. It was just like there were a couple things where I'm just like, well, what the fuck kind of policy is that? I mean, and then there's these these two, which I don't even want to get into. But anyway, like he's like a socialist or something, and you are like full of conspiracy theories, if I believe. Like, Robert Kennedy is known for his work as an environmental lawyer and anti-vaccine views. Like, yeah, like just right there. Like, I have a huge fucking problem with people who have that view. I just don't get it at all in the slightest. It doesn't make sense to me. It seems like the biggest conspiracy theory that I think I've ever seen. So I mean, like, just anybody who's going to be like anti-vaccine mandate is just like no. Now this is a biased article, but I mean, I don't know it. I think my audience is for the most part older, so I mean, maybe this would be interesting. I don't know. It's like, yeah, here we go. It's just that doesn't seem like something I would lie about. I mean, for the most part, like you might not call it a conspiracy theory. You might just say, "Oh, government's corrupt." Yeah, here we go. Kennedy's rhetoric often utilizes conspiracy theories. BBC. Anyway, I'm not gonna try to find like perfectly. Like I don't care if it's like a left-wing source or whatever. That's just probably what I would have used when I was conservative. Just like say it's left-wing views. But like if you are anti-vaccine, then you don't trust studies. And maybe you do trust the studies, but you don't trust the science, or maybe you don't trust the institution, but in some capacity, you're just like, this isn't true. And then you try to justify that with like instances of perhaps disingenuity or dishonesty expressed by said institutions. And then at the same time, you couple those into an argument that says, here's why we shouldn't trust this. They conflate it with the my body, my choice type of arguments, which is a whole other can of worms that I don't really want to get into. But yeah, no, I have a hard time voting for people who just promote conspiracy theories that are in all effect baseless, hence why they're called conspiracy theories. And yeah, I just can't get behind that at all. I just don't want somebody fear-mongering who's in charge. And I feel like there's just not enough people who are concerned about that. So anyway, that's good to know. That's my take on him. Her, I would probably like. I think she was on Dave Rubin, and she fucking destroyed him because he's a fucking idiot. I don't know if she can win. I really don't know if she can win at all. I mean, I know she's more spiritual, but I think for the most part, I like the policies. I think she's like $15 minimum wage, which I think is a good idea. I think I have some minimum wage, boost economic recovery. Yeah, here's just a bunch of articles I had on it. My understanding, I mean, sometimes I'll fight with like Chat GPT, so yeah, I have it here is more like precise, and it's not Chat, it's the Bing GPT or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, raising the minimum wage would boost economic recovery and reduce taxpayer subsidization of low-wage work. President Joe Biden included a long overdue raise. 1.9 trillion rescue plan rolled out. Yeah, and this was the fuck. Yeah, this is years ago. Partisan raised to $15 an hour. In November, 61% of Florida voters voted supported measures to do that. Percentage of Americans who say that they support raising the minimum wage has grown during the pandemic. 66% of Americans supported the minimum wage in February 2020, while 72% supported it in August 2020. Yeah. I mean, this is a biased article. While the Wage Act languishes in the Senate, workers lose $62 for every 8-hour workday. Earning an hourly wage of $7.25 instead of $15, that's $310 a week, $13.48 a month, $16,174 a year. Eliminating these losses would also be crucial toward reducing existing pay gaps for women, and particularly women of color who disproportionately work in low wage and tipped occupations. Yeah, no, I that makes sense, because generally, like, I get there is the fear about the economy, but yeah, okay, so Federal Reserve of Chicago determined that a low-wage worker households spent an additional $2,800 in the year after a $1 per hour increase in the minimum wage. So that's yearly, but it adds up, and it's definitely an increased percentage in spending. Most recent analysis, so that would be interesting. But what's nice is they cite it. So let's. I didn't really want to do that, but I have to download it. It can't be downloaded. Nice. Okay. Minimum wage increase spending for the most recent analysis from the Economic Policy Institute found that the increase in minimum wage by $15 by 2025 would generate $107 billion in higher wages. Their earlier analysis indicates that an increase from $7.25 to $9.80 per hour between 2012 and 2014 would have generated approximately 100,000 new jobs. The Institute for Policy Studies calculates that for every extra dollar going into the wallet of a low-wage worker, about $1.21 is added into the overall economy. Yeah, so I mean, it's an offset. You kind of have to look at the economy as a whole. Like, sure, the businesses might have to charge more or do something to account for the increased expenditure. But that also comes with increased spending, which means that people aren't holding on to their money, and the value of money isn't decreasing rapidly, and which means inflation's offset. And it's an adjustment that I think is good, is what I'm trying to say. So okay, and here's something that, like, you should really fucking argue with the AI, because, like, even if you don't agree with it, it's gonna spit out things that you're gonna have to respond to, and it's gonna source them. So it's not like a baseless assertion, and, like, worst case scenario, you're just gonna improve your argumentation skills. So that's largely why we'll fight with that sometimes. But yeah, that makes sense to me. So anyway, oh fuck Kennedy, no, I don't want to talk about him anymore. Yeah, I think some of her, like, foreign policy stuff. Anyway, let's get out of here. Just do that because that's interesting. And go away. And let's go here again. I think some of her, like, foreign policy issues were interesting. Like, I'm probably too uneducated to make a valid assessment of her, but I mean, hell, who gives a fuck? Where are you? But yeah, for the most part, like abortion rights, I agree with you. Supports abortion access. Black American reparations, I agree with you. Climate change and energy, gun control, healthcare and vaccinations. God, what did she say in that one interview? She said something along the lines of, she wanted to like just completely erase college debt, which I mean, I can see how that could be worrisome because you're like, holy fuck, that's a fuck ton of money if you add it all up. Like, you know, I mean, but at the same time, like that would, think of how much easier it would be to have an educated society as opposed to an uneducated one. So when you have an educated society, they can contribute more to technological advancements, industrial advancements, just general understanding of the world. And when they do that, they're going to have a better understanding of policies, a better understanding of cause and effect in the economy and the world. And I think more people will start to vote for more intelligent policies and also have just a better view of the world. So it kind of just makes a fuck ton of sense. So I mean, I've heard arguments like, oh, you don't want to give everybody a college education because then the college education will become useless. But it's like, no, it doesn't mean it's not becoming useless. It's like if we look at people back in the old days, like, you know, everybody thought the earth was flat. I mean, we know it's not flat now, and that's a good thing because it's not flat. But you run into this interesting situation where, oh, our world's better because we know more about the world. We have a better understanding of medicine. I mean, we have a better understanding of technology. And sure, I mean, like, there were terrible things that kind of happened with that. But at the same time, it's like, oh, here's what happened. And we know more, which is better. And we can make better decisions as a country and help more people instead of doing dumb fucking things like Jim Crow laws and whatever else. It was completely just an uneducated, bigoted disaster. So I'm perfectly okay with getting more people educated, and I think that should pay for itself in return, because you know your economy gets richer, and as a result is more successful. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine. I'm sure there's critiques of it. I wonder if I could, like, part of a piece of proposed cabinet-level department of the executive branch of the federal government of the United States. Peace movement in the United States proposed legislative history that dates to the first years of the Republic. Holy fuck, there's a lot of history. Okay. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. If somebody has any concerns about it, fucking comment or something. I mean, I think I'd be fine with that. I mean, I'm sure there's critiques of NATO as well that, I mean, I mean, I'm sure there just is. So there was no shortage. Supported safe withdrawal of all U.S. troops from Afghanistan as soon as possible, and would consider the use of a peacekeeping force such as the United Nations to assist with the transition. Williamson had said she supports the U.S. vigorously using its position, i.e. through CFIUS, to prevent China from buying strategically important companies, which she believes will help defend U.S. economic interests and human rights, as in the cases of Uyghurs and residents of, it's the Uyghurs, it's that group, and the residents of Hong Kong. Williamson supports rejoining the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Williamson criticized the Trump administration for elevating tensions with Iran. Williamson supports two-state solution for the Israeli-Pakistani conflict. Yeah, I think I'm for that too, honestly. LGBT community, fucking God. Yeah, like I said, I believe that's a good idea. I mean, I could very well be wrong because I am young. And you know, I mean, just realistically, I don't know everything about the world, but it seems like a good idea to me. Yeah, I mean, she's quote unquote religious, but she's more about practice, and I mean, it's more inclusive. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into it now. Charity work. I don't know. She seems good. I mean, like, if you have any sort of like if your view of the world is we're evolving in our understanding of the world and trying to make things better, and you're looking for humanitarian reasons to help people and not just like, oh, trans people or people are castrating trans kids and, you know, all that shit. If you're not just taking like the worst characterizations of the left, like, and you look at the stuff kind of just from a wider view, and you're not worried about like things like, oh, the institution of marriage and, oh, the, you know, just these abstract concepts that, like, if you just got rid of those concepts for like 5 seconds and just looked at the evidence, you'd be totally just on the other side. And then you went back to that and you're like, okay, does this old definition of marriage really matter? You know, just take 5 fucking seconds. I mean, geez. So anyway, I'm sorry. Sister Giants. Okay, anyway, I'm done with her. Fuck you. You're just old as shit. Although he'll probably win again, so honestly. But he's 81. Like, that's wild. Trump, no. I think you were good. There was one thing I was not sure about. There was one thing that I was like, why would you vote that? Or why would you have that opinion? Let's see here. You were a lawyer. You're in Miami, right? Yeah. And mayor. Climate change. Is it climate change? I wrote an article with former Secretary General of United Nations Ban Ki-moon about how Miami is defending itself from the effects of climate change. I mean, yeah, it might not be perfect, but that's fine. It's something. He's a cryptocurrency friendly politician. I mean, I could be very much wrong about cryptocurrency. I think we might actually just end up with that in our economy at some point, because I just think physical currency is going to go away. But I don't know. I'd be worried if... This is the thing, though. I don't think the government could just, like, uproot all of cryptocurrency. I mean, like, that might be a concern, and I'm sure they could technically do that, but think how, like, the uproar that would have with, like, the people who did it. Now, maybe if there's not a lot of people, or it dies out or something, like, that might be cause for concern, but still. I don't know, just a thought. I'm not an expert or nothing. Okay. That's interesting. There was something else. I mean, there were preparations. COVID, I guess that's good. I think it was like lowering taxes or something. Oh. He's not a Trump guy, which is good. Yeah, he supports LGBT. That's right, he's pro-life. That's what he is. Okay, that's fine. Not my favorite. I don't know, you were like lower taxes or something. Fucking Mike Pence. You're like basically Trump. You don't have as much of the baggage. I think is what you said about yourself. But I mean, you still had some like policies I wasn't a fan of. And yeah, I think that's enough for now. But I don't know. It's interesting to look into and kind of see who all the different candidates are. So anyway, without further ado, it's my first attempt at a video. I like politics, but I mean, I'd like to get into it more. But yeah, just wanted to try to make a video. So, see ya. Bye.